There's something that people may not be aware of on this channel is the fact that I actually am a Roman Catholic. Now, I don't want people to immediately unsubscribe now that they've heard that. I should point out, it's not like I go to mass or even necessarily believe in God. It's just the fact that I am in some ways culturally Catholic. My dad is from Sri Lanka. He is a burgher, which is what they call the Dutch Sri Lankan community that's over there. My dad was part of that. He was a Catholic, and he married my mum, and my mum became a Catholic. She was part of the Church of England here in Australia. They're divorced now, and I don't think she ever considered herself religious after the divorce. And as for me, I actually went to church right up until the age of 19, will you believe? So I outlasted many of my other Catholic compadres in doing what is a very Catholic thing to do, and to stop turning up to mass. That's kind of the thing about being Catholic, I think. You eventually become an atheist. It's part of the Catholic indoctrination, because everything's forbidden. Therefore, at the end of the day, you might as well not shop for mass. You're not going to get excommunicated for that, by the way. There are probably some people who could see the influence that Catholicism has had on me, and the overall kind of darkness that I think pervades this channel. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you've felt, and sort of inner darkness that made you clue on that maybe this guy has a sort of a Catholicism, a dark Catholicism running through his veins. However, I do wonder whether Catholicism and going to Sunday school every week up until I think the age of 12, and then I went to a Catholic boys' school, I wonder how much that has actually shaped my mind. I was a believer until I was 19. I think the fact that I was studying Kant in philosophy, and there was something about the way he described Christianity and the fact there's a little bit of a mind trick going on in order to subjugate the poor. If you make poor people who don't have much, believe in Catholicism, believe in Christianity, they might stop challenging the government. They might just wait for the afterlife, which is quite handy for those in power. I remember feeling like, hang on, that is a bit of a dirty trick. I'm no longer going to be a Catholic anymore. And I stopped turning up to mass. And even when I was turning up to mass, I was often hungover from some party I'd been to the night before. But despite all of that, I still do have quite a lot of respect for sort of ancient ideas of morality, because I feel like there are certain ideas that can stand the test of time. I like the idea that there can be values that extend beyond whatever the latest, I don't know, TikTok fad is. I'm not saying that I agree with established religions, values and morals a lot of the time, because there's a lot of stuff I very much do not agree with. But there are actually some things that I do strongly agree with. And I do wonder over time whether hearing all of these different ideas growing up about, it ends up being a very secular kind of Catholicism that I was taught here in Australia. The way I was taught Catholicism was very much about turning you into a little bit of a social justice warrior in a way, which is kind of the opposite, I suppose, of the direction that a lot of traditional Catholics go in. Doesn't really matter. I don't know. I respect traditional Catholics for certain things that they believe in and not for others. Now, some of my closest friends that I've got, I have realized they were all brought up Catholic as well, and they're all lapsed Catholics as well, and they don't believe in God anymore. And yet you've got to wonder why did I keep making friends with people who were brought up Catholic, even if we're all disbelievers? My friend James, when I was living in Japan, it just turned out he was a Catholic as well. It was like, of course he was a Catholic, I remember thinking. And one interesting thing about hanging around in Japan, I'm talking about Japan again and James again and INTPs again, who actually thought this video would not go into those topics. But what happened was me and my friend James decided to go on a little bit of a getaway to a town called Kamakura, because I think he was a bit sick of Tokyo life and I wanted to take him to somewhere that was a bit more traditional. So we went to Kamakura for 1 or 2 nights. And on the second day, he had a friend who was a fellow English teacher who was from Victoria here in Australia. So I think he thought, wow, I can introduce Peter to another Australian. And of course, when we all started talking at a cafe in Kamakura, me and the Australian girl did start talking fast and in a certain way. My British friend couldn't actually understand what we were saying because we went into Australian talking mode. But the point of this story is that we went off to look at a lot of old Buddhist shrines, and my friend James and I, both who were brought up as Catholics, we really had no problem with doing Shinto and Buddhist prayers. at these temples. We didn't feel like it was sacrilegious. We didn't feel like we were betraying our religion at all. I suppose because we weren't religious. But the interesting thing was that the girl that was with us, she was actually an evangelical or Pentecostal Christian, and she was much more disturbed at the fact that we were doing these Buddhist Shinto rites to pay respect at these temples. She found it very off-putting and she walked away very upset. And I remember James and myself had this strange Catholic connection where we really did believe that we can worship whatever gods we want. I think that's the funny thing about being or growing up as a Roman Catholic, because Catholic means universal, and it also means like you can kind of, it almost feels like you can incorporate anything into your beliefs, which is not Catholic doctrine. It's definitely, I'm sure that we were sinning, according to the Catholic Church, in worshipping false idols, I suppose you might say. And actually there was the German guy that I lived with when I lived in Japan as well. He was also Catholic, a Catholic German. And once again, he was like right on board for doing Buddhist and Shinto prayers. So there is something I like about the modern day Catholic, which is of course the world's largest or most populous religion. There's something that's nice about how it's very difficult to find a Catholic that takes Catholicism that seriously. You know, most people who grew up Catholic, it was just so relaxed, especially in the Western world. It's a bit different in different countries. But in Western countries, it's much easier to find Catholics who just don't care at all and will worship anything and anyone and pay respect to all religions, which is one of the nice things about growing up Catholic in today's world, apart from all of the dark stuff that goes on in the Catholic Church that we're not going to get into. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that the reason that I so quickly adopt false gods like MBTI and I join cults and the enneagram is about as satanic as it gets, do you think there's something about my Catholic upbringing that sort of pushed me towards the evils of the enneagram? Or the octogram if you want to go down like the proper Satanist path? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you next time.